Okay, so get this. We're diving into a story about a kid who wanted to donate an elephant.
An
Yeah,
elephant.
to the Alaska State Zoo
Okay.
before they even had a zoo.
Wait, what?
You heard that right. This all went down before the Alaska State Zoo was even a thing. And get this whole elephant situation somehow ends up on President Nixon's desk.
President Nixon? You're kidding. I've got to hear.
It's wild. We're going through these excerpts titled How to Get an Elephant. And it's like every page is another curveball.
All right, I'm hooked. Take us back to the beginning. How does a kid even get the idea to donate an elephant?
Right. So the story goes, this kid just picks up the phone and calls the Alaska State Zoo, and they're basically like, hold on there, champ. We don't even have a zoo yet.
I mean, talk about gumption. But that does make you wonder about the zoo's beginnings. Was it common back then to start fundraising for a zoo before you even had, a place for the animals?
I know. It really makes you think about how things were done back then.
Mhm.
Like maybe the regulations weren't as strict, or maybe they were just pioneers in conservation fundraising. But here's the kicker. The kid calls back, totally unfazed,
Hmm.
and says, okay, but what if I got you an elephant?
He just had an elephant handy.
Right. But somehow the zoo was like, all right, kid, let's hear you out. It really speaks to that entrepreneurial spirit of the 70s,
Yeah.
that whole build it and they will come kind of attitude.
Okay, but how do you even find an elephant back then?
Well, this kid was resourceful. He turned to, get this Zoom.
Zoom, like the children's show.
Yes. It was huge back in the day. Think of it like the internet before the internet. Kids would write in with questions, ideas, everything.
You're right. I totally forgot about Zoom. That's a fantastic detail. It shows how different things were then. Like, imagine having your plea for an elephant broadcast on national television to a bunch of other kids. Wild.
Exactly. And it actually worked. The Zoom team brainstormed with him and came up with that classic solution right to the president.
So, did he? Did he actually write to the president?
He did. And here's where things get even more interesting. The text mentions that this kid aced that Stanford Binet IQ test, like off-the-charts intelligence.
Okay, so he's a certified genius.
Basically, it makes you wonder if the government had him on some kind of radar back then. Like, did Nixon know about this kid's brain power when he got the letter? Did that influence his response? It's intriguing.
I mean, it was the Cold War era. Maybe they were looking for promising young minds. Okay, so what happened next? Did Nixon respond?
He did.
Mm.
And get this, it wasn't some generic form letter. Nixon actually engaged with the idea. He replied, what kind of elephant do you want? Like he was actually considering it.
Wow. That's incredible. Okay, so what did the kids say? What kind of elephant do you ask the president for?
So the kid goes back to Zoom for advice.
Smart move.
Right. And they land on a Chinese elephant. But remember, it's the early 70s.
Oh, right. The U.S. and China weren't exactly on the best of terms back then.
Exactly. Nixon was trying to open relations with China at that time,
Yeah.
which makes this whole elephant request even more unbelievable.
Okay, you're blowing my mind right now. So you're telling me this kid completely unintentionally stumbles into this pivotal moment in U.S.-China relations all because he wants an elephant.
It's insane, right? It's this bizarre collision of a kid's dream and international diplomacy. But wait, there's more.
More.
The text mentions this whole side story about some kid in India, like a Maharaja kid, who also offered an elephant. But that never panned out.
Really? That's a weird detail.
Right. It's kind of a strange tangent that doesn't really go anywhere.
That kind of makes you wonder what people considered acceptable to just, throw out there back then. Some things were different for sure. But I get what you mean. Not really relevant to the story.
Okay, so back to Nixon. When he hears about this Chinese elephant, his first response is basically out of the question, which, fair.
Right.
But then, I kid you not, he says, and I quote, on the other hand, why the hell not? Somebody's got to go to goddamn China eventually, and this is as good a reason as any.
Whoa.
Okay, right. Like, was he serious? Was he joking? Was this some sort of political satire woven into the text? It's hard to say.
Seriously. But it's amazing, though, how this one kid's quest for an elephant intersects with this huge moment in history.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? This kid, just wanting to give an elephant to a zoo that didn't even exist yet, might have played some small, strange role in changing the course of history.
The butterfly effect in action, right, makes you wonder what other seemingly insignificant events have shaped the world we live in.
Exactly. It really shows that history is full of these strange, unexpected twists and turns. And you know me, I love a good mystery.
Always. So are we left with a cliffhanger here? Did Nixon get that elephant?
Unfortunately, the excerpt ends there. No word on whether that Chinese elephant ever made it to Alaska.
Oh, man. All right, listeners, you heard it here first. If anyone out there is connected to the Alaska State Zoo, hit us up. We need to know if this elephant ever arrived, or if this whole thing was just, Nixon being Nixon.
Seriously,
Yeah.
we need answers, people.